One of the things I've noticed about celebrities, and it's a big danger, imagine you become famous, and as a consequence of that, now you have a persona, and that's you defined by the social crowd. And there's a certain brand significance that goes along with that, a reputational significance and a value, even an economic value. But the problem is it can become a trap, because if you can only be what you've already been, then you can't be anything new. And that's where people fall into this trap that you described of something like self-mimicry, right? This worked for me before. Look at the effect it produced. I just will do that again. But then you're instantly false, eh? You're instantly false when you do that. It's like you're sacrificing your future self for whatever your past self once attained. And then you lose that spark that actually is likely the driving force of whatever made you attractive to begin with.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I always say to my sons, really my basic rule of life is try never to go back, full stop, with anything. It's never the same. There's always a reason that you've moved on from whatever it is. And to try and replicate previous behaviors, to try and replicate previous relationships, to try and replicate perhaps a job that you once loved and lost, to try and go back, I think you often forget why you left in the first place or why things didn't work out. You read it and see it all the time. You tend to, memory tends to sugarcoat things. Right. And it's only when you actually, if you do allow yourself to fall back into these previous habits or behaviors or whatever it may be, that you then realize it wasn't what you thought. And the mind, I think, plays tricks with you a little bit. So I think that, I do think particularly with politicians, particularly with sportsmen, entertainers, you're right about the brand thing, is they can very quickly get pigeonholed as to this or that or this. And then they start to play up to the thing which they were originally identified as being. And maybe it was what they're actually like, or maybe it wasn't. But either way, it becomes a very difficult thing to then escape from. You become tagged with that. I know pop stars who are still seen as the nicest people in showbiz. I know them to be utterly horrific. Conversely, I know people I've met in business or politics who have terrible reputations, but actually are very nice people. So it's an interesting thing that public branding of people can be instantaneous and very long lasting and often completely wrong. But the danger for any public figure is to try and play up to your caricature. Now, I think the one saving grace you can have is self-awareness. To me, there are two types of public figures: those who've got self-awareness and those who don't. I think that I have a big persona, a big, perhaps slightly caricature persona sometimes. I like to deliberately antagonize and create debate and so on. But I always do it with a sense of self-awareness. And the times I described to you earlier, where I've slightly lost the plot and become a performative theatrical artist, if you like, rather than a proper journalist, of when I've forgotten the self-awareness streak, when I've been driven by adulation and praise, usually, into thinking that somehow, right, this is the new me and this is great and I'm going to be this person, rather than just being honest with yourself about who you are. I think I'm pretty aware of who I am, warts and all. And some of the traits which other people see as being in me disagreeable, I'm very relaxed about. In fact, I'm less relaxed about some of the more positive traits. When people say, oh, you're such a nice person, well, it sounds almost brand damaging to me. I don't want to be just nice. I can't think of anything worse than being nice. I'd rather be challenging. I'd rather be...
Right. It's a shallow virtue.
Yeah, why would you aspire to just be nice? It seems to me that people who are inherently known as nice people